The point at which they should bring in market research is the point that they decide that they can't afford to lose any money that they're going to be spending on a communications and advertising campaign. And the reason that I say that is it never fails to amaze our clients how much they learn about their audience, how much they learn about whether an advertising concept is likely to work with their audience, and how much money they know they've saved as a result of taking the time to put market research into their planning so that they come out at the end of the day with stronger messaging, stronger collateral materials, and much, much more insight into the thinking, the perceptions, the attitudes, the beliefs of their target audiences that they can turn around and put into an address in their campaign planning, in their messaging, and all the other great things that go along with developing a strong communications campaign. I think the point at which they need to bring in an expert is at the point that they really start to even begin thinking about research. Because you want to bring somebody in who's been doing market research for a long time, that knows all kinds of methodologies and has experience in executing and using these different research methodologies. Because if you bring in somebody that just knows focus groups, well then that's all they're going to recommend. But focus groups are not always the best route to go. Sometimes you need an online survey. If you want statistically significant information, then you need a strong survey study to give you that. And focus groups are not going to provide you with statistical significant information. So you need somebody that knows the different nuances, the different pros and cons of using different research methodologies, and there are so many. There are focus groups, there are mini focus groups, there are interviews, there are store intercept interviews, there are online surveys, there are face-to-face surveys, there are observation techniques, so many. There are online focus groups. So you need to know to work with somebody that knows all these, and then they can provide you with the best guidance. Budget is often a consideration, especially during these tough economic times. All the more reason that you can't afford to make any mistakes with any component of your communications outreach and planning, which includes the market research end of it. So with that in mind, it really behooves you to bring in an expert. The expert doesn't have to do everything. The expert can do provide sort of a la carte services, but very important services to make sure that your research is done correctly. And if research is done correctly, then you get accurate data, data that's not biased or not skewed. And bias and data that's skewed can be the result of somebody, for example, drafting a survey that's never drafted a survey before. And then you might have in that survey, without somebody being experienced or trained in developing survey instruments, for example, questions that are biased, that are loaded. And when you have a survey with questions biased or loaded, you're going to have results that are skewed and that are not a true reflection of the respondents. Then you're going to do that. If you do that, then you're going to base an entire communications campaign on information that's faulty. As any communicator knows, basing a communications campaign on faulty information can lead to disaster. It can also lead to a waste of advertising or public relations dollars, which again, in this economy, no one can afford to do. You can also bring in the market research expert to help train your staff to do different components of market research. So for example, our company has been brought in to train the staff of one of our clients on how to conduct an interview. So this was for a major cell phone company, and we were doing store intercept interviews with their customers across several markets in the United States. And so to save money, rather than hire our company to do it, they hired us to design the study, and then hired us in addition to train their staff on the right way to collect data in the field. They save a lot of money, but at the same time, the study was very scientific because we provided the guidance and we monitored for compliance to scientific guidelines. At the end of the day, they were able to present really solid findings to their client, their cell phone company client, and make really solid marketing recommendations. If anybody's looking for a market research firm, I would recommend that they look for several features of that firm. Number one, I strongly recommend that they find a firm where the staff have graduate degrees. It's one thing to say that you've been doing research for 20 years, but if the person has not been formally trained in that field, my personal opinion is they're not researchers. The second thing I would advise people to look for is a staff that has knowledge in using and demonstrable knowledge in using a variety of different research methods, because then they know what's out there and they can make the best match for your company or a client's company and the research methodology that's best for the client. The third thing is look for a firm that has had a variety of clients and doing work in a variety of industries. I can't tell you how much our experience in the cell phone industry, in the health industry, in the banking industry, in the tennis industry, in the university academia, for example, has helped us to really bring a lot of expertise, knowledge in different industries to the design of really great research studies. The fourth thing I would recommend is looking for a firm that has won awards in the field. It's not a really superficial thing that people might think, because if somebody has won an award in their field, they've been judged by their peers, and their peers have selected them amongst a whole other slew of candidates and said, this firm has demonstrated the top of the line service in the area of market research. And that coming from peers makes a difference.